Bob Arum, Oscar De La Hoya, and Eddie Hearn have all expressed interest in signing Errol Spence, and who can blame him? You would want to sign him, right? He's young, he's unbeaten, he's very talented, he's got a great mentality, he's a hard worker. So you can understand why all these promoters would want to sign him. But Errol Spence, according to what it says here in this article, is not interested in signing with any of those guys. Is that the right move for him? Or is he actually selling himself a bit short? Let me give you the quotes here from Errol Spence. He says, I feel like basically Showtime is my promoter right now. They're promoting me. So I feel like I don't have to sign with a promoter. Why do it? I mean, I'm fighting on TV, I'm getting the main slots and basically doing what I want to do. Basically, without having somebody telling me who I'm fighting or where I'm fighting at, things like that. Basically, my manager comes to me and says, do you want to fight here or do you want to fight this opponent? And I have say-so in it. Everything's been going good now. I'm getting publicized. I've been fighting on TV. My name's been out there. Why change something? Everything is going good. Everything's running smoothly, and I don't believe I need to change anything or I need to add anybody to my team right now. What could I possibly need a promoter for me to do that I'm not already getting done with the team I have now? I haven't gotten anything from Eddie Hearn. Golden Boy was pursuing me. Top Rank was pursuing me, but they get that from my interviews. I tell them I don't need a promoter. I'm not looking for a promoter. You know, we're setting a new trend where you can do stuff without a promoter. And just the fact that everybody feels like you need a promoter to be this top guy, you really don't. So those are the words of Errol Spence. Now, one thing I've said in the past is I'm very much in favor of fighters dispensing with middlemen where it's practical. Okay, sometimes you need a middleman. And by middlemen, I'm talking about promoters. Sometimes you need a middleman, but not always. There are fighters currently and in the past who are self-promoted. People like Roy Jones Jr. actually, for a long stretch of his career, he was self-promoted. Floyd Mayweather famously was self-promoted, although Mayweather would work with big promoters for specific fights. So maybe it's a bit of a little slightly misleading to say he was self-promoted, but he certainly didn't have any long-term contracts with any promoters. Floyd Mayweather. David Haye, for a long stretch in his career, was self-promoted, and there have been many others. So I'm in favor of it because the fighter gets a lot more money, the fighter gets more control, and yeah, I just like the fact that the fighter is not being used by as many people in order for other people to eat. So I'm in favor of it, but there are some times when a promoter could do something for you. And when you look at the position that Errol Spence is in, he's not a superstar in the United States. He's not a pay-per-view fighter. And he's trying to be that. He's trying to get fights against the likes of Keith Thurman, Terence Crawford, etc. when they're pay-per-view. That's what he's trying to do. Can he get there by himself? Basically promoting himself. Can he do that? Or will he need somebody like an Arum, a De La Hoya, or a Hearn with a machine behind them who can promote them? You know, he says that Showtime are basically promoting him. And maybe they are. Maybe they're doing a good job. Maybe, I mean, he's the one that knows what his numbers are like. I don't know what his numbers are like. Maybe he doesn't need a promoter at all. But then again, promoters have different outlets and promoters can be a mouthpiece for you. Maybe it's a situation where a promoter could do a lot for Errol Spence, but he doesn't feel like the money he would have to pay for the promoter would be worth it. You know, yeah, you might increase my popularity a little bit, increase my profile a little bit, but not by the amount that, you know, it can't justify the amount I'll be paying you, basically, for that service. So maybe that's where Errol Spence is coming from. I can only speculate. But when it comes to making big fights, sometimes you have to sign with a promoter or sign with not just any promoter, a big promoter. An example of this would be Tyson Fury when he was with Mick Hennessy. He needed to sign a deal with Frank Warren or with Box Nation in order to get the Klitschko fight. Mick Hennessy couldn't seem to get Fury in a position to get that fight in the time frame that they wanted. So they had to do a deal with Frank Warren, and Frank Warren has a long-standing close relationship with the WBO. And because of that, that's why they were able to get Tyson Fury ranked with the WBO and in a WBO final eliminator against a man he'd already beaten, Derek Chisora. And once he beat Chisora in that rematch, he became mandatory challenger for Vladimir Klitschko. Then Hennessy stepped in apparently and did the deal for the Fury Klitschko fight, but the groundwork had been done, right? He'd been gotten into the position already. His shot was guaranteed. So that's an example right there of a fighter realizing, you know what, we need someone with a machine behind them, with more connections in the game in order to get us into this world title position. And it could be a similar situation with Errol Spence when it comes to making the big fights, the pay-per-view fights. He might need somebody with a machine in order to get that done. But then again, he is advised by Al Heyman, and Al Heyman does have somewhat of a machine behind him. Al Heyman is not officially a promoter, but he tends to act in a promoter's capacity according to a lot of, people who speculate on the internet and, and on boxing shows and stuff like that. He's not officially a promoter, but you do scratch your head and scratch your chin and think, isn't he just a promoter in everything but name only? In every other way apart from name, sorry. So, yeah. Interesting situation with Errol Spence, not looking to sign with any promoter anytime soon. Will that stifle his career? Will that hamper him? Or is that actually the best move for him? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, people. It's happening, I'm out.